The best news in technology and beyond. This is Crocels News.
This is Angel Garden reporting on cyber technology. So we recently had Anti-Bullying Week in the UK, and this year's slogan is Choose Respect. And respect, as we all know, starts with self-respect. So why did the latest Children's Society report, A Good Childhood 2018, find an astonishing 1 in 5 of 15-year-old girls admitting to self-harm? Excuse me? What? That's 1 in 5 ready to hurt themselves? What's going on? How can we respect others if we're hurting ourselves? And what's making that happen? Cyberbullying is sometimes seen as being connected to relational bullying, but on the government's website, cyberbullying is seen in a class of its own, and relational bullying isn't mentioned at all. But don't take my word for it. Some researchers from Hertfordshire University have been looking at this and found that cyberbullying is in fact very similar to relational bullying in several respects, like, the whispers, ostracism, spreading rumours. When I was a kid, it was all stretch elastic, cat's cradle and jacks. And now it seems it's all gangs and bait and switch. And that's important because so many people I speak to report that this queen bee business is getting totally out of control. Interesting. Well, now that cyberbullying's here to stay and the police, the CPS and teachers all admit that they can't stem the tide of it, perhaps relational bullying will finally begin to be seen and all those girls can perhaps stop hurting themselves for being in or out of the gang or to keep up with the latest hysterical fashion, which we all know amounts to the same thing. Even the BBC documentary on the El Assads ended up with a guy saying that the whole thing comes down to a mother-son relationship where the mum is controlling the son. In actual fact, we now have legislation in the UK supposedly to deal with exactly that type of coercive control. But hey, relational bullying and ostracism are seen as pretty cool on TV, aren't they? What's interesting about cyberbullying is that teachers can't police it and the police have to come into school and do it. And that's weird because there isn't actually a legal definition of bullying at all. What are we going to do about this mess? Let's talk to an expert. So hello, Jonathan Bishop.
Hi there, Angel.
Last week was Anti-Bullying Week and the slogan was Choose Respect. Now, I know that you know a lot about cyberbullying and that it's unlikely that people always will choose respect, and you've been developing some tools to help them do so, haven't you?
Yeah, so we're developing this system called PAIS, which is the Persuasive Adaptive Interaction Extension, a device that you'd plug into your router that you would normally use to connect to the internet, and it acts as a way of making the connection to your own computers and the content available on the computers on your network more secure and safer with less harmful content and less chance of people stealing your data.
Right, on the one hand it's encrypting what you're sending out and all your data about where you are, who you are, anything else that's identifiable, and at the same time you can program it, as I understand, tell me if I'm wrong, to exclude specific content or seek specific content from the internet.
That's right. So if you're a parent, you'd be able to set it up so that when your children connect to it with their regular devices, anything that might be harmful, it would be able to detect and filter out. So even if they were using Skype and talking to a stranger, it would be able to detect, say, the tones of voice, and if that conversation seemed unsuitable, it could block it or alert the parent through their device so they can make a choice whether they go and intervene.
So it would give a parent an opportunity to vet who the child is talking to that's unknown to them.
That's right. A parent could load it with photos of the child's friends, and anyone who doesn't look like their friend, it would stop the conversation on Skype or any other video link.
So can you say something about how you might think it would help to cut down on cyberbullying? Let's say school-based cyberbullying, because it often originates from school, even though it moves away.
Well, one of the biggest problems with cyberbullying originally was it took place via text message. This was back in the early 2000s. So they brought out the Communications Act 2003 to replace the Telecommunications Act 1984. And obviously the technology now has moved away from SMS towards the internet, so it's much easier for our system to intercept those communications with parental consent. The parents could give the schools consent to use it on their networks.
Well, I wish you very good luck with that, because it sounds like something that a lot of people could appreciate. Very interesting. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
I'll see you next time.
Definitely.
The best news in technology and beyond. This is Crocels News.